Meeting.
Oops.
Okay, Arcady, thank you for hosting the morning session. I think it was lively discussion. And at this point, I'd like to welcome everybody to our first meeting in March. And we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty
liberty
and
and justice for all. Let us have a quiet moment of reflection, as we have been for success with the vaccine and with the things that are going on, schools opening, and let's hope we don't, fall back into bad times again. Things seem to be picking up. The rates are going, positivity rates are going down. So let's have a moment of reflection and thanks for that and continued improvement. Thank you. First meeting of the month, we have birthday wishes. And today we have, this month, John Durso, Angelo Sabia, and Bob Schulte are nonagenarians. Congratulations. And happy birthday to them and everyone else in March. So if we can have our rendition of happy birthday, Jerry.
I am here and I am ready. So happy birthday to
To
you.
you.
happy birthday to you.
Happy
Birthday,
birthday,
dear
fellow.
fellow.
Happy birthday to you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Do we have an anniversary song, Jerry?
Check with me next week.
Oh, how we danced on the night we became members. Our membership anniversaries, 15 years, Bill McGarr and Dan Wilson. 10 years, Dan Hyman, and 5 years, Howie Levy. And we keep having the anniversaries, and hopefully once we get back together again, Carl will have a matrix made of who's got to turn in what pin and who gets the new pins.
We'll have a pin swap meeting.
Yeah. So congratulations, fellow members. I by now, when I put this, asked Carl to put this up, it was new, but now everybody's been aware of it. So at this point, age 55 and older, that should cover all of our members and significant others. So we've got the field covered now, and like always, schedule an appointment or a vaccine at Stanford Hospital. The number is there. Or go to their stanfordhealth.org. I don't know if you can schedule the appointment online, but it's worth a try. And then the statewide office to get the drive-through site. Phone number is listed. And if you have a VAMS account, you can schedule on the VAMS website. I don't know which is easier, which is harder, but I know I had some problems with the VAMS because of locations, and I had to jump in and grab a first appointment. But However, once the appointment was made for my wife at Stanford Hospital, that went through quite well, and they quickly made the second appointment. So it was, I think, a little easier at the hospital. Also, if you do it at the hospital, immediately your record is up on the patient portal for the Stanford Health Medical Group. If you're in the patient portal, it will show up there. And likewise, if you do it at VAMS, it'll show up on the VAMS website. So the reporting is almost instantaneously. Within 5 minutes after I got injected, while I was still waiting at VAMS at the CHC, the information came up on the website. So you have your information available both with the card and electronically. The schools are opening, so all the kids are going back, at least at the elementary level. The kids are going back to 5-day classes now. So that, hope that it's not, as I said earlier, going to bite us in the rear. But let's hope that that works out well for the kids. March is, believe it or not, International Women's Month. So be kind to your wives and spouses and significant others, at least for a month. Then we can go back to being normal again. But it's their month, and what I don't know is should we lobby for a International Senior Citizens Month? Seems like every group that makes a noise gets a month dedicated to them. So with that, congratulations to women. And fortunately today, our speaker is Dr. Rachel Albright on Oh My Aching Feet. So stay tuned for our 10:45 speaker. Stu?
Thanks, Joe. Good morning, guys. Coming up, we have a good string of speakers coming up for the next month. Next week, we have Tim Shaw. Tim is the relatively new police chief in Stanford. He's going to talk about whatever is going on in his organization, the police department, about current activity and different initiatives that are happening. The following week is Professor Novajan Zatowski, a researcher, doctor, professor, involved in doing a lot of research at the Technion in Israel. And they're doing a lot of research in cancer. And that should be pretty interesting. Following that, we have a return engagement. I don't think we've had Julie for 3 years, I think. Julie Jason's going to talk to us about optimizing the impact of gifts to children and grandchildren. So that should be a subject that's of interest to everyone, I would think. And last, April 1st, not a fool, Jim Cameron's going to come back. I think he was here about 2 years ago. He's got a new talk, a new presentation on what he believes is going to happen after this pandemic is over. So I think we have a good string of speakers coming up. I did want to mention one thing. This is a technical thing in general. It applies to this meeting and to the speakers. The folks at Zoom have updated their software. So now the raising of the hand, if you have a newer version of Zoom, the raising of the hand happens by hitting the reactions button at the bottom of your screen, a little off center. If you push the reaction button, you'll see a raised hand there, and you won't see it on the participant screen as you had in the past. For those who haven't upgraded, the participant screen will still be the place to raise your hand. So just telling you about that for the rest of this meeting and moving forward. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Before we go to the next slide, Ira, Ed has had his hand up.
Yeah, everyone. Apparently at Lord and Taylor, if you show up before the few minutes, 5, 10 minutes before they schedule to close, if there are any unused vaccine, you can get your vaccine there, and it doesn't matter what your age is. So if you have a grandchild who would like to get a vaccine, you can go there and get it.
Thanks, Ed.
Yep, I'll vouch for that. My daughter and her husband got it the other day. They were on some kind of list that got a call and said, if you can get here by 12 o'clock, you can get your shots. Age doesn't matter.
All right, thank you. Ira,
Good morning, everyone. Last week, we had an attendance of 65. I assume everybody received the minutes. If there are there any corrections or additions? If not, I'm going to turn it over to President Joe to cast one vote of acceptance for the entire group.
so moved. I cast one vote of acceptance. Again, Ira, thank you for a great job.
Yeah, welcome.
Okay, Larry here. I want to thank Art Feldman for leading a very lively discussion this morning. There was lots of interplay and a lot of commentary. So thank you, Art. Going forward, next week, it'll be Joe D on investing. On March 18th, Bob Butke on technology. On March 25th, Emily Boothroyd. She is an associate of Lori Price, and she will be stepping in for Lori in the 920 groupings on money matters of a variety of natures. And on April 1st, not April Fool, we'll have Joe D coming back to talk about current events. Next slide, please. Yesterday's walk had a great turnout on a beautiful day. We even had 2 visitors. The lady who volunteered to take our picture was walking 2 dogs, and is one in the front and one in the back. We had a great turnout, a great walk, in spite of a little bit of snow on some of the pathways. And yesterday was at Irwin Park. Next week, it'll be at Waveney Park in New Canaan. So come out and join us. Hope to expand the group by seeing more people show up. Next slide. The annual picnics, Thursday, September 23rd. Stu, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, sure. Right now, as I've mentioned before, the mayor is signed up. He'll be there to talk about the city. The caterer is going to be there, the same caterer we've used for years. We haven't set the price yet. The permit, I just checked this morning, the permit should be approved next March 9th, next Tuesday. So I'll call him on Wednesday just to make sure our permit is approved. She said she didn't think it'd be a problem with that. So we're looking good for the picnic. Hopefully, given the state of affairs, that maybe we'll have a picnic and large groups can get together. So hoping for that. Hope to see you there. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, before I leave and turn it over to Carl, I just want to again mention that if anybody has any thoughts about any other activities that we could do, whether formal or informal, please send me an email or speak up when we got into the discussion section of the meeting. As I mentioned, informal golf, I think can be scheduled sometime when the weather warms up. We can get our own starting times as groups. Maybe we'll talk to Paul Grillo about that. And and it's been mentioned a trip to Ed Rose talked about maybe going over to the Beardsley Zoo, which I believe is in Bridgeport, with drive your own, or if anybody feels comfortable carpooling, that's another option for a somewhat small group trip as opposed to large group trips until we get things sorted out in terms of vaccinations and comfort levels of being together in large groups. So that's it for me. Again, I turn it over to Carl on the next slide.
Good morning. We have 2 new members already this year. The latest is Brian Murphy, who was invited to our Zoom meeting by Rich Oster. And I want to thank all the members who have been contacting our guests. We sent a list out earlier this week, and I've gotten a lot of feedback, and there are more potential members out there who have responded to our contacts, which have mostly been over the phone, some email contacts. Phone is certainly more effective, and we expect to get some more members in the next week or so. So I want to thank you for your help, and keep up the good recruiting work. Do we have any guests or visitors this morning? If not, we'll go on to the next slide.
David.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Oh, so before I begin with the fellowship, I do want to mention one thing. We decided that those members over age 90 who celebrated their birthday really do deserve special attention. And so we've sent out a happy birthday card to John Durso, Angelo Sabia, and Bob Schulte, which they should be receiving the next day or so in the mail. Go on to the next slide, please, Carl. I do want to thank everybody who's been contacting our members who've requested to be in communication. Much appreciated by everybody. So let's keep that up. One thing I would ask, I've been trying to contact Louis Kay for a couple of weeks now, and he's not been picking up on the cell phone. If anybody knows what his situation is, please let me know. I'd spoken to him previously 3 or 4 times, and everything seemed to be okay, but now I'm not so sure. And as before, if you know of anybody else who would like to be contacted, please let me know. You can go ahead and next slide, please. So does anybody have any good news or news in general? If not, I have some good news to report. I had mentioned last fall that our son Jeff, who's a professor at Manhattanville College in Purchase, had his first book, an academic work in theater and dance, published. He has now written another work by request that will soon be published in a chapter in another scholarly book on theater and dance. So he's pretty excited about that. In addition, he's producing, directing, and choreographing a stage presentation that will include professional dancers and actors from New York and students at Manhattanville. The premiere is to be determined, of course, contingent on New York State COVID rules and restrictions. All that good news for us. So does anybody else have any news to share about yourselves, your family, or other members? If not, that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Dick.
We had a good discussion yesterday about the Kingdom of Ice, which some of the members said was great. Once they got going into it, they couldn't put it down. And it was a pretty, if you pardon the pun, chilly story, but an incredible story of intrepid guys trying to get to the North Pole via the West Coast, which of course they did not do. And the next book is about Henry Ford and Charles Lindbergh, the American Axis. It might be a little disappointing to all of us who held them up as some kind of heroes, especially Lindbergh, but that's the facts. So we're meeting on April 7th at 1:30 for that.
All right, thank you, Dick. Huh. Well, we went through, I guess, we have ample time for bringing up discussions. Anybody?
Yeah, Larry here. I'm just curious. Is there anybody on this Zoom meeting who has not had at least one vaccination?
Yeah, May.
Okay.
Hey, Stu. Extenuating circumstances. I had the evil deed, the disease. But my doctor had me and my wife do an infusion. So we can't take shots for 90 days from that infusion.
Wow.
But we're immune. So
Okay. Any other items anybody would like to bring up?
hey Joe, Stu here.
Yeah,
I'm just curious. If we asked I'm just curious by show of hands, maybe how many guys have gotten at least one shot, if that'd be worth just interesting to see.
Is it just me or some people's screens freezing?
well, I think it's just reversed. He asked if anybody didn't get a shot and you were the only one, so everybody else seemed.
No, somebody else said. Jerry McLaughlin said he hadn't.
Yeah. People don't always.
You know, maybe that, Steve, for next week, do a little poll again on who's got 1, 2, or 0 shots.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Well, in the same subject matter then,
Okay, well, there's hands, raised hands. Alan, Jaffe?
Yes. It's a
You-
joke.
Oh, wait for the jokes.
Okay, well, you put the slide was up. That's why I did that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
But that was just a joke, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, well, all right. Any jokes or items for
Joe,
discussion we can bring up?
Go into jokes.
Alan, your
Before
hands
we
up
go into
first.
jokes,
Okay, did you hear about the fellow whose entire left side was cut off? He's all right now. And then there's the guy who fell onto a upholstery machine last week. He's now fully recovered. And a man had a photographic memory, but it was never fully developed. And then, when a woman saw her first strands of gray hair, she thought she'd die. DYE. Those who get too big for their pants will be totally exposed in the end. And that's my non-bar jokes.
Dick Fisher. Unmute yourself, Dick.
There you go.
Dick, you had your hand up?
No, from before.
Raised it, lower it.
No, it's still up there. That's why.
Okay.
hey, Joe, I have my hand up.
Let's see. Jerry Kranz.
Yeah, hi. I just, this is in discussion. If we go back a little bit, even
Sure.
though you have jokes on board, with regard to the songsters, I have contacted all the venues that we perform at. That's Waveney and Atria and the Residents and so on. Just saying to them that we hope that we might be able to start rehearsals again if things work out in September. And if we start rehearsals again in September, we might be able to have our Christmas holiday performances. I received some very nice notes back from a number of the organizations, a number of the senior homes, saying that they miss us just as much as we miss them. And they also feel that maybe December would be the time. So that brings you up to date on the songsters.
Thank you, Jared. Alan Sosnowitz.
Thank you. Good morning. With what's going on in Washington today, or every day actually, we all know what spin is, to turn a story around and make it sound different than it really is. And to my recollection, the first time I ever read spin was in Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain, when Tom Sawyer said that he hit his friend as hard as he could with his eye right in the fist, and that's turning it around. Well, here's another story. This woman, Judy Wallman, a professional genealogy researcher in Southern California, was doing some personal work on her own family tree, and she discovered that Senator Harry Reid's great-great-uncle, Remus Reid, was hanged for horse stealing and train robbery in Montana in 1889. So Judy and Harry Reid shared this same common ancestor. The only known photograph of Remus shows him standing on the gallows in Montana Territory. On the back of the picture that Judy obtained during her research in this is this inscription: Remus Reid, horse thief, sent to Montana Territorial Prison in 1885, escaped in 1887, robbed the Montana Flyer 6 times, caught by Pinkerton detectives, convicted and hanged in 1889. So Judy emailed Senator Reid the information about their great-great-uncle. Believe it or not, Harry Reid's staff sent back the following biographical sketch for her genealogy research. Remus Reid was a famous cowboy in the Montana Territory. His business empire grew to include acquisition of valuable equestrian assets, intimate dealings with the Montana Railroad. Beginning in 1883, he devoted several years of his life to government service, finally leaving to resume his dealings with the railroad. In 1887, he was a key player in a vital investigation by the renowned Pinkerton Detective Agency. In 1889, Remus passed away during a very important civic function held in his honor when the platform upon which he was standing collapsed.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that
says
tells
it
you-
all.
And that tells you the political
Bill
speeches.
Monko.
Yes, yesterday, my wife Dee and I took a Zoom tour around the Bartlett Arboretum. It was really interesting. We used to go up there a lot when the kids were younger, but we started to go back up there. Nice place to visit. They don't charge you anything to go in. And there's a lot of stuff to see. Actually, with the spring coming, there'll be much more stuff to see, but it's a great place to walk around. And also you might want to think about that on one of our walks. That's it.
Thank you, Bill. It's a good suggestion. Okay. I guess our speaker has not, Dr. Albright has not signed on yet. So we still have some few minutes to Larry, you got your hand up?
Yeah. By a show of hands, how many guys are interested in doing some kind of group trip, such as the Zoom, maybe in late March or April on a nice day, getting together as a group, on a small trip situation?
All right, if you do, hit yes, or raise your hand, obviously. Okay, guys, we can't see you raising your hand because you're on different screens or you're being streamed. So only 5 people will show up if you raise your hands on camera. You gotta raise your hand electronically or hit
Or
yes.
just click yes. Just click yes on the participants or
Yeah.
raise your hand, either one.
But can't see you on screen, guys. So don't raise your hand on screen.
It's the reaction button. Yes.
Or if you're on the old version, just click or raise your hand. Yes or no. So I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. I see 13 guys. So by next week, I'll make a suggestion and a date. And if somebody wants to volunteer to coordinate, we'll do so. Looks like there's enough people interested in willing to get together, and we'll schedule something beyond walking. So
Thank you, Larry. All right, Joel Bress, you raised your hand. Is that in response to Larry, or you got something to say?
I have an inquiry.
Sure.
I think a lot of us have been getting the same robocall on what is it? Solar panels. And one of our ex-members has asked me if I've bitten for it, if I've investigated solar panels at all. I've just clicked off on the telephone call, but it's a good question. Has anybody explored solar panels for their home? Nobody's picking up, huh?
I looked into it briefly, besides the fact that I have too many trees and my shade factor is more than what they recommend. You've got to really look at the economics of it because there is some cost associated with it. And it may or may not really be effective. You may lower your bills monthly. However, there are charges that you have to pay that could be in the thousands. So you really have to do a study. They tell you that, you'll get money back from the state or whatnot. Some of it may be true, some of it may not be, but I would not recommend anybody doing it from a phone call.
Certainly not.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to Costco, there's usually somebody there trying to peddle solar, and or there are reliable organizations, but definitely do not do it from a phone call unless when the caller ID comes up and says Joe's Solar Energy. But if it comes up with Alan Sosnowitz's phone number and he says, I'm Jerry from Solar Energy, then why are you using Alan's phone number? And they usually hang up pretty quickly.
Wait a second. Wait. Alan's not selling solar panels?
Yeah, why are you giving away my scam over here?
So, Joel, you've got to be, look into it and see what, your situation is. I mean, a lot of people in North Stamford, unless they got their land pretty well cleared, have a dense shade cover, so may not be worthwhile.
Is this a panel discussion?
What?
Is this a panel discussion?
Okay, Howie, you had.
I'm going back to Larry's about a get together. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm in favor of it. but I gotta hear from everybody that they've had 2 shots in 2 weeks. You follow what I'm saying? They say the recommending is after your second shot, you wait 2 weeks, then you can be in a small group of others of the same. I think if we're going to have any sort of get together under the auspices of the SMAS, some rules have to be set and followed. Otherwise, we could open ourselves up to a problem, not only legally, but health-wise, more important. Thank you.
Thank you. When the time comes closer, we'll get, I mean, if it's the same type of get together we do with the walking and we keep our social distancing and masks on, then, that may, comply with the thanks, huh? Dick Fisher.
For what it's worth, in the 1980s, I had a law partner who got involved in an experimental limited partnership installing solar panels. At that time, the state gave you credit, the federal government gave you credit, and we used it to a limited extent because of shade. But during the summer, we did not turn on our oil burner during the whole time, and we made money on it. Then we sold the house, and the people that bought it took down the panels because about that time, they lifted the federal credit, and all of a sudden, it wasn't such a great deal. Even though they didn't pay for the installation, we did.
Thanks, Dick. Yeah, it's you got to look into each individual situation and get some, proper guidance. Bill Munko.
Hey, Howie, I guess that lets me out. I don't get my second shot till next week.
Okay.
See you in 3 weeks, Bill.
Well,
you can come anytime.
they aside from the 2 weeks or what, there is still the recommendation or the requirement that even after you've gotten the full vaccine protocol, you should still go out with the masks, and whether it's overkill or whatever the case, but they are still recommending that people wear the masks and do the distancing as well. So, and the last I heard something, and I didn't get all the details, but they're only looking at a 3-month period from when you've gotten the second shot to be fully what is it? What's the word?
Immunized?
Fully immune. Yep. And they're not sure after the 3 months if the immunities are still 100%. So stay tuned. We'll hear more, but it's a evolving situation. Lou, Terry?
Did anybody else take notice of this?
Ask, does anybody know a good time to show up for Lord and Taylor if they have extra shots? What is the closing time there? If they're giving away vaccines, for instance, if they have a couple left over or whatever.
Yeah, who brought that up earlier?
Yeah, I did, but unfortunately, I do not know the closing time.
Okay.
It
Thanks.
was on your first slide, Joe. You had that information on there.
Let me just go back.
Steve Fisher mentioned it.
Yeah, I don't know what list my daughter was on, but they got a call from there.
But there's a phone number to call, in Danbury, they opened up the same thing at a Lord and Taylor at the Danbury Mall, which someone in my wife's family is going to on the end of the month. So these are
Also,
becoming very popular.
Yeah, the first slide doesn't have hours of operation.
If anyone,
Unfortunately.
if anyone is
For the
covered
vans.
under VA medical, they are also giving out the shots. At West Haven Annex, I believe is a walk-in, and in Newington, you can do it by appointment, and they don't have an age limit.
Question, does anybody know what version of the vaccine is being given out at Lord and Taylor? Is it Moderna or is it Pfizer?
I got Pfizer, the first.
Pfizer.
Did anybody else notice that the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, you only need the vaccine once, but you still have to say their name twice?
So why is, if you only need one, why is it still called a dose?
Very quick, Alan. Very good. Sosnowitz, do you ever play those guitars in the background?
I was jamming with a group just last night. Yes, I do.
Why don't you give us a performance one morning?
I will start the meeting with the Jimi Hendrix version of the Star Spangled Banner.
Okay, we welcome that.
Thank you.
That'd be great, yeah.
Good.
I haven't seen our speaker sign on yet. Steve, have you?
No, I haven't. I just sent a backup email to her.
There must be a mystery afoot.
Oh, boy.
Breslau's been taking lessons from Alan Jaffe.
Hey, I just looked up online, Lord and Taylor site is from 8:30 in the morning to 4 p.m.
Thanks. Ed.
A car broke down. She's being towed.
Oh,
I was going to say, he needs a tow truck.
There's too many jokes afoot here.
Oh, boy. And they're all corny.
Also good.
With that,
Well, Alan, you have a leg up on all of us.
Yeah.
An amusing story. When I got my vaccinations, they put on the card, your birthday. They listed mine as December 8th, 2017. And so I asked the nurse, I said, are you going to get in trouble for vaccinating a 3-year-old? And she laughed and she put a thumbs up. And the thing I mentioned, and Ryan mentioned, is you should make sure that the birthday listed is your actual birthday, because the provider won't get paid from Medicare if there's a discrepancy. No, just, I had a good laugh anyway about it.
Whenever they ask my birthday, I always tell them April 16th. And when they ask me what year, I said, every year.
Speaking of feet, you know why astronauts don't get athlete's foot? Because they get mistletoe.
Oh.
I hope she comes soon.
Save that first.
We'll probably nail it.
think we've been cooped up too long.
If this
Yeah.
keeps going on, I'm going to mute everybody.
Or just stop recording for the time being.
I-
My chair, so I didn't move it.
Okay.